Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. I just want to first off and say that this video is only for the beautiful people who watch my video. You're all beautiful people. Let's get started. Am I a jerk for refusing to both cook and clean to cater to my husband's dietary needs? I'm a 34-year-old female and my husband Paul, a 35-year-old male, have been married for a little over 2 years. We have no kids. Now, I know this is not how it is in every home, and I say, do whatever floats your household boat. But here, if one cooks dinner, the other cleans. Turns out, Paul is not a gleeful cook, and would rather clean. So, almost all of the cooking falls on me, with the occasional takeout. And then, after COVID, Paul works out of the home as an essential worker. I work from home. When it was September through October-ish, Paul comes to me and says he wants to eat healthier. Great, I love the man. I'd prefer he have not a heart attack. But Paul, my lovely Paul, of course has to take it to the 1003rd degree. He's trying all sorts of fad diets, and I mean all sorts. I've done my best, in my opinion, of complying with these ever-changing diets. It's only one meal per day, and besides, it can be fun finding recipes that match whatever weird criteria Paul has this week. This might be a me thing, but whenever I try a new recipe I'm not too familiar with making, I tend to be messier when cooking. I mean, it's one thing to kind of auto-cook the pasta recipe you've been making for years. It's another to be like, oh, why are the lemons on the counter? Here, let me scroll through this woman's grandfather apple orchard to see where I used the lemons. Oh, that was step 3. Now I'm on step 7. What's this about flour now? So now there's lemon juice in my eye, behind my contact, and I'm trying to retro flour this piece of meat. This is the problem. Paul came up to me Friday night and he says he doesn't think it's fair for me to be so careless with the mess when I'm cooking. It makes his job so much harder. I reiterate, the man said the word careless, both syllables. Like, he wasn't a human with the ability to logically guess the future consequence of one's action. I took a second and said, before we continue, what do you see as the benefit of your bringing up this conversation with me? And Paul, God bless this little duckling soul of his, goes, well, if you would clean up, say, half the mess while cooking or right after, it would go to make my job so much easier. And I ask, will you do half the cooking? And he said, looking me dead in the eye, well, no. I know I can be messy when I'm cooking, using multiple pots and pans and bowls. Like I said, especially when I'm cooking something new. But in my defense, I have learned something new all the time because Paul comes up to me with new things like, hey, I'm going to try to avoid tomatoes and peppers because Tom Brady said that they're intestinal inflammatory or whatever. Who cares? My proposal was that we stick to the original. He either cooks or cleans. I don't intentionally make a mess, but I do intentionally try to meet his diet needs. He says that because I work from home for fewer hours, that taking steps to clean up along the way, or taking a first swipe at cleaning after cooking is a good marital compromise. I refuse. Alright, Opie, I loved reading this letter. I love the language you used here. It's great. Now, as for whether you're the jerk or not for refusing to clean up along the way, nah. Like, he's constantly asking you to do new dishes, and I know I'm actually kind of similar here. Like, it's easy to make a dish you know. It's hard to make a bunch of dishes you don't know. And sure, like, there are some things that you can do to minimize messes, like use fewer dishes, use whatever, but, like, those are only things that are kind of acquired after making a recipe a few times. You can figure out what you need to include, where you need to include it, how to modify it to be simpler, and still, like, not lose any flavor. So, yeah, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from, OP. I do. So, no, don't think you're the jerk here. I think you're going well above and beyond the Call of Duty here by making him all these strange and new meals. So take care and good luck. Not the jerk, your arrangement is entirely reasonable. If he doesn't like the way you cook, he can cook his own meal. Yep, bingo. Let's move on. We're moving on, folks. We're moving on. Am I a jerk for calling the police because the family I tutor for keeps leaving me with the kid? I am an after-school tutor, homework help and co-curricular support mostly, test prep sometimes. I'm pretty adamant and clear that you cannot leave the house while I'm working with your child because I am not a child care and I cannot be made responsible if something like a medical episode happens. Also, I don't want there to be the appearance of impropriety. Yeah. I don't need them in the room or anything, just in the house. Even still, parents occasionally try to use me as an excuse to run a child-free errand or to run to the office or whatever else they do. Usually, after the first warning, it stops. And there's also a financial penalty. Recently, I had a family where the mom evidently left during our session. This was the first time that it happened. Eventually, I needed to leave to my next appointment. I texted her, I called her, but no response. I was not comfortable leaving a child of 8 alone without an adult presence. After 15 minutes or so of waiting and becoming late for the next child, I got nervous and I called the police's non-emergency line to ask what I should do next. They said they would send someone over. The police arrived and they said they'd wait for her. Of course, I have many angry calls and negative reviews from this mother now saying that I've created a huge problem for her and the police think she's some kind of bad mother now, and a social servant asks her all kinds of questions about how she does this stuff. She claims she didn't realize the session was only 30 minutes and thought it would be okay to run a quickie and leave around the corner because I would still be there when she returned. I was comfortable with the decision at first, but she seemed genuinely shaken up by her interaction with the social agent or the officer she spoke to. She and a friend of mine says that this was uncalled for escalation that could have actually placed the child in more jeopardy than my leaving after the appointment. Or that I should have at least waited for the mom to return and spoken with her first as a warning. Am I the jerk? Alright, OP, I don't think that you're the jerk here. You're running a business. You need to be able to leave on time. You're not the child's, caretaker here. You were under the impression that the mom was around. Leaving a child of 8 alone by themselves probably is not a good idea, and you may have even been held liable if something happened to the kid if you had left. So no, I don't think that you're the jerk here. I think the mother, she was already told, don't do this, I'm not your child care service. And sure, she learned the hard way, but honestly, you had to get to your next appointment. She was literally taking away your, financial situation here. She was basically taking money away from you. My suggestion is don't work with this woman in the future if she ever invites you back because, she's not good for your business. So, yeah. Anyhow, take care and good luck. A friend of mine says this was uncalled for escalation that could have actually placed the child in more jeopardy than my leaving after the appointment. Agreed, the parent should not have escalated things by leaving you alone with a kid and being uncontactable to the point that you had to call the cops. What were you supposed to do? Just leave the 8-year-old on their own? For all you know, the mom had just gotten into a horrific accident and was unconscious or something. Someone needed to be in contact, and if she didn't leave you in an emergency contact other than herself, you had no choice. Yeah, actually, that brings up a really good point that I hadn't even considered, is like, what happens if the mom had actually been injured or, any number of horrible things? Like, that would have been an even more bad situation to leave the kid alone in. And OP says, this was actually what crossed my mind when I called because I thought, is there an address book or can I ask the child where maybe I can find a relative or something? Who else can come over and watch her? But I couldn't help but think, wouldn't she just be accessible while she was away from her daughter? Maybe something has happened. Definitely was a concern of mine in this aspect. All right, our final letter of the evening is titled, Am I the Jerk for Paying More for My Son's college tuition compared to my daughter's tuition? My son got into an amazing school with a great career opportunities. He worked hard in high school, and his acceptance to the school was well deserved. The tuition and room and board comes to about $50,000 a year. It was higher than what we had anticipated, but decided we could contribute $25,000 a year, and he could take out loans for the rest. My younger daughter is graduating soon and still hasn't picked a college yet. She never took school seriously and was pretty much a C student throughout all 4 of her years. The college she's looking at is about $20,000 a year. However, it's not a very well-known school or even ranked. I do not feel like her going to this school would be more advantageous to her career compared to a community college, which would be significantly cheaper. About $6,000 a year. I told her we could contribute about $6,000 a year if she could take out loans out for the rest. Else, we could also pay in full for the community college for her first 2 years, and if she maintained above a 3.5 GPA, we'd pay whatever the school she wanted to transfer for her last 2 years. My daughter is angry with us and say we're favoring her brother by paying so much more for his tuition compared to hers. However, the only reason why we decided to pay so much for our son's tuition is because he graduated valedictorian and his school is ranked top 5 for his major and will give him many opportunities that kids at regular state schools may not get. We think our daughter just wants to go to this private college for the college experience, not necessarily to progress her career. Hence, until she proves that she takes her career seriously, we're not really inclined to drop $20,000 a year on her tuition. Am I the jerk? So, OP, I think that if you were going to do something like this, you should have made this clear a long time ago to your kids about what your expectations for college and payment were. So, like, starting freshman year of college, you should have told them both, or high school rather, you should have been like, hey, if you guys maintain certain grades and stuff like that, then we're going to put X number of dollars away or contribute X amount of money to your college experience. But as it stands right now, this is just coming out of the blue. And I certainly understand, like, your concern with paying for your daughter's tuition to this other place, because if she seems like a risky investment. Personally, this comes across as favoritism. I think it's blatant favoritism towards your son, and I think you know that too. Paying $6,000 a year or semester, $6,000 a year compared to $25,000 a year is, light years apart. I honestly think that, look, if she goes to this college and she gets her act together and she decides that this is really what she wants to do and she works hard and she gets her degree, that's going to really go a long way towards helping her out. I don't know what school this is. I don't know. Maybe you should look into accreditations and stuff like that. Make sure that this is actually, a very reputable school. Otherwise, that would be the one gray area I would see here. Maybe talk to her about maybe a different college if you think that the school itself has problems. But, go on a campus tour, see what the campus is like, see if there are things there that concern you. But honestly, you're paying $25,000 a year to your son. I think it's fair to pay $20,000 to your daughter. Given that you never put any kind of restrictions or anything like that, you never told your kids, hey, if you make valedictorian, that's an extra $5,000 a year for your education. So, yeah, honestly, I think that this is favoritism, and I don't think it's a very good look for you folks. Anyhow, take care and good luck. You're the Jerk. Where you go is not who you'll be, by Frank Burney. Read it. Going to an unranked school may be just what your daughter needs. Just because it isn't a named school doesn't mean it won't benefit her. There's nothing wrong with saving money by going to a community college first. You're proposing it for the wrong reason, though. If you're concerned about your daughter's reasons for choosing to go to college, you should address those directly. Yeah. Seconding this, if your daughter is a mediocre student, the more expensive college might just be what she needs to feel motivated. If there's a campus culture, community, etc., she'll be much less likely to drop out than a community college. Also, regardless of how unknown the school is, a traditional 4-year college will look better on her resume than a community college. OP, you should pay for the college that she actually wants to go to. If you're really worried, you can set some reasonable expectations for her, at least an A- per semester and nothing lower than a C or something like that. Yeah, I think that this is actually a really good compromise. I think that these two comments really hit it pretty well. All right, you beautiful people. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just take a minute here and just talk, because why not? What do you think of my beard? I trimmed it up a bit. It got a little long, and like I tried to trim my beard up, but every once in a while I just get to the point where it's just so long and kind of like, you know, cumbersome. I thought about even shaving it off. What would you folks think about that? Amber is not a fan of the idea of me shaving my beard. She likes my beard. And I can't blame her, because the beard, it does look good. Well, I mean, in my opinion, you might think it looks awful. But yeah, I mean, I almost shaved it off today. You almost had a Brian without a beard. It grows back in like a week, so it's not like it's that that much of a loss here if I shave my beard. So yeah, so thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.